We start this month with an armed robbery. Lothian and Borders Police, who asked for our help, say it was a miracle that no one was hurt in the affair. The reconstruction you're about to see is as accurate as possible, given eyewitness accounts. The robbers you see are, of course, actors, but they resemble eyewitness descriptions. Remember, people's memories aren't infallible, and no doubt it will emerge that some of the details turn out to be different. If you can give more information, or if you saw anything to do with the robbery, please do call us. It happened 3 months ago in Edinburgh. The date is Friday, the 1st of March. The people of Edinburgh are to witness an extraordinary chase through the main streets of the city. This is Waterloo Place in the centre of Edinburgh. At 4:30 p.m, this blue Ford Cortina with 3 men inside stopped opposite the Edinburgh housing offices. The car had been stolen from Glasgow the day before. One man stayed outside and one went inside as though he was a council tenant here to pay his rent. But instead of going to the counter, he sat with cleaners who were waiting for the offices to close. Several minutes later, a Securicorps van arrived to collect the day's takings from the cashiers, leaving a guard to keep watch in the back of the van. Normally, the guards would have collected the money and come straight out, but today the cashiers weren't ready, and there was a 15-minute wait. This long delay enabled witnesses in the building to give a very full description of one of the robbers. He seemed about 30 years old, 6 feet tall, well built with black, straggly, unwashed hair and a scruffy moustache. He had a pale complexion. It's now 4:45 p.m. It seems that by looking through the window into the cashier's office, the accomplice outside was able to give a signal that the guards were about to emerge.
Get down! Get down!
Attack, 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 394, Housing Department, Waterloo Place.
Get down! Hold on, get down! At the front! Come on, get a foot down! Come on! Run this side, they'll not expect you to go down. Come on, get a foot down! Go as fast as I can, shut up! Up here, turn right, up the hill! Right again! Right, quick! Aye! Bastard still behind us! Right, jump the lights, ignore them!
The second impact caused the van to swerve and hit a parked car. As the Cortina sped down the Royal Mile, the robbers found they were on their own. For the moment, they'd got away.
Turn right!
At the bottom of the Royal Mile, they swerved right into the car park of Scottish and Newcastle breweries. The van had lost them from its sight and drove straight past.
This way!
Over a dozen witnesses saw the men running through the car park. Several said that one was now wearing a bright red sweater. The Securicore van had lost them, and with a burst radiator, it had to give up the chase. Inspector Tom Snedden is the detective now hunting for the robbers. How can the public help?
Well, I would ask anyone who witnessed the robbery or the subsequent chase through the streets of Edinburgh to contact us if we've not already interviewed them.
Now, as we said, we've got a very good description of at least one of the robbers. Just tell us again what we know about him.
I think it's important to emphasise the point that the men are actors. The description of the gunman, he's about 6 feet, approximately 30 years of age. He's well built, he was unshaven, he's got a moustache, he's got black straggly hair, which is unwashed, falling over his forehead. We know for a fact that he was wearing a blue parka jacket with a hood which is trimmed with fur.
Right, and the second man?
The second man and the third man, they're both rather patchy, the descriptions. The second man's approximately 25 to 30 years. He's 5'7", he's well built, he's unshaven, he's possibly got a beard. He was wearing a ski cap, either brown or green, and a green jacket. The driver, who's the third man, he, in fact, has got short hair, he's about 27. He's clean-shaven, but we do have witnesses speaking to the fact that he's possibly got a bad complexion, pockmarked or spotted face.
Now, you mentioned things that they were wearing. On the other hand, when we saw them in the last shot as they were escaping from the car park, one of them, it seemed, was wearing a bright red pullover as they ran off into Holyrood Road.
That's correct. We believe that, in fact, they've changed clothes in the car. You would also notice that they were only carrying one bag because there was 4 bags stolen, and we believe they've put them into one hold all.
Right. Now, presumably you lost sight of them after the car park, so you want anybody who might have seen suspicious people running away beyond that point?
That is correct. Anyone in a wearing a red jersey or carrying a hold all in the area of Holyrood Road to come forward.
Now, I mentioned that the car had been stolen from Glasgow the day before, which was, if I remember correctly, February the 28th. It was stolen in Glasgow, the registration number, I've got it here, SSF 701V.
Yes.
Now, you need to know more about that car, presumably, where it was in the intervening 24 hours.
The car was stolen from Langside College Car Park, which is near Battlefield Road in Glasgow. It was stolen approximately between 7:30 p.m. and 9 p.m, and we would appeal to anyone who saw the car between these times and the time of the robbery to come forward.
Right, so it's the car you need to trace in that intervening 24 hours, though you've obviously got it back now.
Yes.
You need to find any of the 3 men responsible. You want to see anybody who saw the chase, whether or not they feel they've anything important to tell you.
That is correct, because these men could be from any part of the country and not necessarily from Edinburgh. And I would appeal to anybody who, in fact, either knows the men from the descriptions or think they know them, to contact myself or the numbers given, and they can speak to us in confidence.
All right, Inspector Snedden, thank you. The number to ring, if you can help, is 01811 8055. Or you can call Lothian and Borders Police directly on Edinburgh 311 3131. That's 031, the code for Edinburgh, 311 3131. Or rather, Crimewatch viewers have. The first of this month's reconstructions features an armed robbery. There are at least 3 gunmen, and finesse is not their hallmark. They're prepared to shoot almost indiscriminately and at point-blank range. The story starts with the theft of this car from a garage in Tunbridge Wells. Within the next few days, it had turned up in south-east London. July the 1st, Brayards Road in Peckham, and this blue Rover had become a local nuisance. It's been parked here for 5 days, and a resident reports it to the police.
It's A111 NKN. Someone will move it, will they? OK.
And later that same day, the car was moved, but not by the police. The next known sighting of the Rover was 6 weeks later. That's mid-August, parked here at Wimbush in Milton Keynes. But by now, the number plates are different. Nearby, 2 men were seen to enter the site where Marriott's are building a large electronics factory. And a third man, perhaps a lookout, was noticed outside the boundary fence. At 8:20 a.m., a Securicorps van arrived to deliver wages. At about the same time, the site engineer became suspicious about those strangers.
Who's that chap in the red hat there, do you know?
No, I don't.
What about these two?
I haven't seen those before, no.
Securicorps had been making regular early morning wage deliveries to Marriott's for several months. They'd established something of a pattern, and the waiting strangers were obviously expecting the van to drive straight into the compound. Today, there was a change of plan, and the van pulled up outside.
Open it! Give me the keys or you're dead! Move! Get it open! Here's the keys, don't shoot! I think they're flex, Jerry! Lads! Get them! It's a line! Let's get them! Bastard! Out! Put it down!
Although he'd been shot, the foreman got up and went on with the chase and shouted to a lorry to ram the getaway car.
Reverse! Grab the Rover!
The Rover turned down Pitfall Road, then went left into Carter Lane. The police aren't sure if there were 3 or 4 men in the car. It was here at the Kiln Farm Industrial Estate at the back of Tesco's where they abandoned the Rover. It's a mile away from the robbery. Detective Superintendent John Chilsley is the man who's now after them. But first, tell us something about the extraordinary bravery of those building workers. They're quite remarkable.
They're very brave men indeed, but their action was one I would not recommend because those 2 workers who had tackled the gunman were very lucky not to be killed.
Indeed. There was, of course, the driver of the Securicorps van who was shot, but we didn't show that.
That's right.
Now, the man who shot him was the one with the yellow hat on. What do we know about that man?
We've made up video fits of 2 men. The first one is the man, as you say, who shot the driver and the worker. He is about 30 years of age, 5'8" tall, slim build. As you see, he's wearing a yellow hat and glasses, and at the time he was wearing overalls.
OK, now let's try and take those glasses and that hat from him and see what happens. And there he is, about 30 years of age.
30 years of age.
Right, and you say you've got a second video.
The second one was the man who climbed into the cab of the vehicle and threatened the guard to hand over the keys and the cash. He's about 30 to 40 years of age, 5'10", again slim build, wearing glasses, but he was wearing a black leather jacket and dark trousers. And we believe that glasses were in fact a form of disguise.
And there he is, without the glasses. Does anyone recognise that man? The third and possibly fourth man you don't know, and you haven't got descriptions or good enough descriptions of them.
That's right.
What about the car, though? That's been all over the place, hasn't it? Starting in Tunbridge Wells.
The car started off being stolen in Tunbridge Wells on the 27th of June. It then was seen in Peckham on the 1st of July, and from there it next appeared in Milton Keynes on the 15th of August on the day of the robbery. We're obviously interested in the period between the 1st of July and the 15th of August, wanting to know where that vehicle was and did anybody see it.
And, of course, sometime between those dates, the car numbers changed.
That's correct.
From A111NKN to B523PHA. There is a reward out on this, I gather.
There is a reward for anyone who recognises those photo fits and can give evidence that leads to a conviction. There's £5,000 reward.
John Childerley, thank you very much indeed. The number to call if you can help, 01811 8055. Remember that reward. You can speak in absolute confidence to a detective, or, as always, you can ask for a BBC researcher. Or you can call police in Milton Keynes direct. Here's their number, 0908 678 787. 0908 678 787.
Our last case tonight shows how one particular device foiled a gang of armed robbers at the headquarters of a regional electricity board in May. Our reconstruction begins on Wednesday the 26th of April at the West Kirby Sailing Club on the Wirral in Merseyside. The owner of the Sierra, Peter Skinner, is a regular member of the club. Wednesday night is a race night at the club, and more than 60 people took part in the various races that evening. At 8:30, when he had finished sailing, Peter went back to the club bar to meet some friends.
We're tired. Yeah, I'll have to go. We'll see you tomorrow.
It was about 10:30 when Mr. Skinner decided to leave. But sometime during the 2 hours he'd spent in the club, the 2-litre Ford Sierra had been stolen. It was 15 days before the car was seen next, but in that time someone had done some work on it. False number plates had been fitted, and for some reason the front passenger seat had been taken out. It's 9:10 in the morning on May the 11th at Manweb, the Merseyside and North Wales Electricity Board in Lister Drive in Liverpool. A Securicor van arrived to make a delivery.
Hello, Manweb, can I help you? Are you querying the amount of the bill or the method of payment?
The guard made his routine check through the window to make sure everything was in order inside the office before collecting the cash box.
Morning.
Oh, Christ!
Two Manweb employees leaving the depot were just in time to see the robbers escaping.
God, there's been a robbery.
What?
Oh,
no.
Don't stop. Get after them. Got a whisk, piece of paper and a pen. Might be able to get the licence number.
Emergency, emergency. There's been a robbery at the depot. We're in pursuit of a blue Ford Sierra, registration number B992...
DVC.
That's B992 DVC up Moscow Drive.
Right, thanks, Stammer.
Hello, police emergency, can I help you? The sealed cash box the robbers had seized contained £6,000 in cash. It also contained an automatic security device on a time delay, which, unknown to the men, was soon to detonate.
Our mobiles are following a blue Sierra.
Obviously blinded by clouds of acrid red smoke, the driver collided with a Volkswagen estate car at the junction of Lister Drive and Green Lane. The Sierra continued along Moscow Drive, trailing red smoke. The smoke contains an indelible red dye, so the men and the money would have been covered in it.
Did you see them? Where did they go?
Somewhere along the route, 2 of the men must have been dropped off. The other 2 were seen leaving the car in an alleyway off Marfield Road.
Well, we have Detective Inspector in charge of the case here, Sue.
Right, Alan Buckley is in charge of this case. What exactly is the effect of that red smoke, Mr. Buckley?
Well, the dye from the canister will make the money not usable at all. It taints it red and it can't be passed at all.
What about the men themselves?
The men will be covered in red dye, both the skin and the clothing that they wear, and it will take some considerable time for this dye to be washed off the skin and off the clothing.
Right, so it's, what, 8 weeks now since the actual crime, but there's still likely to be some traces of dye on them?
It could well be, yes.
And earlier on, presumably, they would have had very distinctive sort of red marks around their eyes and on their hands.
Very much so. They would look a funny sight as they took the masks off, yes.
Right. Now, do all security companies use this kind of device now?
The major companies have started using this type of canister that explodes on a time device, yes, and it's obviously very useful and preventative.
Right. You've actually brought a money box
yes.
in of the same type that was stolen.
This is the type that was stolen on this particular incident. It hasn't yet been recovered. So if any member of the public has found this discarded anywhere, it will be covered in red dye. The money inside will be covered in red dye, if in fact it's still there, or if they found the money separate from the box.
Right, so don't be frightened to come forward. If you have found that, the police will be delighted because it'll be a vital clue. Now, what are you hoping that the people might have seen on the actual day of the crime, which, to remind people, was Thursday, May the 11th?
That's right, the 11th of May. We're aware that 2 robbers abandoned the vehicle in Marfield Road, which is some 3 miles away from where the incident took place. So during that journey, 2 other robbers have got from the vehicle, and we'd like to know if anybody saw the vehicle, and secondly, if they saw these 2 men getting from it, who would have the shotgun with them and the boiler suits.
Right. And what about the Ford Sierra itself? Because it was stolen, of course, 2 weeks before the robbery, so you'll need to know where it was in that intervening time.
That's right, very much so. We're not aware that it was driven about during that time. We presume it was garaged somewhere, and during that time, the number plate was changed. So it was bearing a false number plate, so if anybody knows where that false number plate came from, in fact, if they made it up, they could contact us.
So that was the original number there, D142SCM, and the false plates were B992DVC, and they were changed somewhere between the 26th of April and May the 11th. Why do you think they took the front passenger seat out, incidentally?
We don't really know. It's the second incident that I've investigated where they've removed the front passenger seat in a 4-door vehicle. We're presuming it gives them certainly more room inside to put a cash box and shotgun. It gives a different appearance that there could only be 3 people in there instead of 4.
Do you believe these men are dangerous?
They are very dangerous. On this particular occasion, they discharged the firearm. There was no need to. The security man had given up the box quite easily as he's instructed to, and all of the members of the public were behind screens and walls. And in fact, we did find an undischarged cartridge in the recovered vehicle, so they were determined to fire again.
Right, well, Mr. Buckley, if you can offer any information on those men, remember they were armed. Ring us here in the studio tonight on 01811 8055, or ring Merseyside Police Headquarters direct on 051 708 8772. That's 051 for Liverpool, 708 8772. In our next case, a young off-duty police constable was shot in the leg, the bullet narrowly missing an artery as he intervened in an armed raid on a security van in a quiet shopping street in the town of Tankerton in Kent. It was lunchtime on Tuesday the 4th of September, the day that many children around the country went back to school after the summer break. Do you remember seeing something unusual, either at the scene of the robbery or at the nearby sewage works, which were to play a vital part in what happened? Our reconstruction begins 4 miles away from Tankerton, 3 days before the robbery, with the theft of a water authority's van at Herne Bay. Inside were the keys to all Southern Water Authority premises, including the sewage works at Tankerton. 3 days later, on the morning of the robbery, Tuesday the 4th of September, 2 Water Authority workers arrived at the sewage works for routine maintenance checks to find that the padlocks had been changed. A mobile generator had been taken out of the garage. Inside, everything had been cleared away, but several empty nylon sacks had been put there. The men locked up and left. It's 10 to 12. Just round the corner in Herne Bay Road, an agitated man called in at this general store.
Excuse me, I'm looking for the old waterboard sign.
I'm sorry, we've just moved here.
Yeah, I was driven down on the dark once. I can't quite remember where it is. I'm looking for the Essex waterboard. No, sorry, the Kent.
You might be in the old sewage works sites. It's on the right over there, just round the corner.
Just down here?
Yeah, that's right.
1:20, a quiet Tuesday lunchtime in Tankerton Road. Securicor were about to make a delivery to Lloyd's Bank. 2 men are waiting. A motorist pulling out to pass the van saw a man run up to the driver's door and point a gun at the window. A second man threatened the other guard.
Get back in the van. Don't be a fool. Get back in the van.
At that moment, PC Eric Tanner came out of the bank with his girlfriend, Michelle.
I'm a police officer.
Leave him alone! Leave him alone!
Back off, Michelle.
Get off him! Get off him! Leave him
Michelle,
alone!
back off.
Is anyone getting an ambulance?
Eric Tanner had been shot in the thigh.
Get an ambulance!
I was mainly concentrating on the pistol that he had in his hand, because at one time I had hold of his right hand and my left hand had hold of the pistol. And I was actually looking at the pistol and I thought personally that it was not a real pistol.
The gun was pointing at the back of Eric's head and I was hysterical. I thought he was going to kill him. I started screaming at Eric to let him go, which he didn't.
Seconds after the robbery, a witness driving along Tankerton seafront had to brake sharply as a Securicor van, closely followed by a red Austin Maestro, shot out in front of him. The speed at which they were travelling made him suspicious, and he decided to follow them. His suspicions were confirmed when the van and the Maestro took a turning through a housing estate heading towards the sewage works. He made a point of getting a good look at the Maestro driver.
Get a move on.
They've changed the locks.
I'll drive through it. Get under! All right, open up! Got a gun! Get down! Move! Come on. Keep it going. Come on, come on! That's it. Right, go!
Just beyond the sewage works is the seafront. A man taking a lunchtime stroll saw a white minibus reverse onto the grass embankment. It's less than 10 minutes since the robbery took place. The minibus was found abandoned 4 miles away later that afternoon, behind the Tesco superstore in Whitstable. Shoppers may well have noticed 4 men carrying heavy bags. The money they took weighed approximately 10 stone. PC Tanner hopes he'll be back at work in the new year.
I have recently been to see the physiotherapist, and they think I should be getting back on the road now, and I can put some weight on my leg. So I'm not too bad.
The thought that Eric could have been killed, seeing that gun pointing at his head, is what has frightened me since then. And I think probably that's why I've been more upset by it than Eric has, because he was never really aware that his life was in danger to the degree that I was.
Well, Mr. Taylor, there were 4 men involved in the robbery, and you have 3 good video fits.
Yes, we have very good video fits of 3 of the offenders, and I'm sure that they're identifiable.
Right, well, let's have a look at them again. First of all, the agitated man who asked for directions to the sewage works. Can we have his description?
Yes, he fits very closely to the description of the man who actually shot PC Tanner, and he's described as being in his mid-30s, 6 foot 4 inches tall, and he's a big man, muscular, not fat, but described as about 17 stone, with dark or brown wavy hair.
Now, that's the man on the left-hand side of the screen. In the middle of the screen is the second man, the one driving the red Maestro, which closely followed the security van. What's his description?
A smaller man and older. He's perhaps about 40 years of age, dark hair with his moustache. The most distinguishing feature about him is that he's got narrow eyes and he's of Mediterranean appearance, a swarthy appearance.
And then the third man, the one who drove the Securicorps van on the right-hand side of the picture.
Yes, he's again a man in his mid-30s, 6 foot to 6 foot 2 tall. He's got brown to mousy coloured hair, perhaps greying, and I think it's probably a bit lighter than is shown in the video fit.
Right.
I think that it's worth saying that if you view all 3 of these together, somebody may recognise them, and if they do, I would urge them to call our incident room.
Right. And all those 3 men are between the ages of 30 and 40?
Yes, that's right.
At the beginning of the film, we saw a National Rivers Authority van being stolen, inside with the keys to the Tankerton sewage works. That's not so far been found?
No, it hasn't. I'm convinced that was involved in the robbery. The keys fitted the barrier to the promenade where the white van was driven from, and I feel that vehicle has probably been abandoned somewhere, perhaps with false plates, and we'd very much like to find that.
Right. Tankerton is a small seaside town, and Tankerton Road is a very quiet shopping street. But do you think there may be witnesses who have not yet come forward to the robbery?
Yes, that's quite possible. A lot of people have come forward. We would urge anyone who has information about the robbery to come forward. But I would also like to hear from anyone who was in the area at the time, just so that we could eliminate them from the inquiry.
Right, and once again, the date was Tuesday the 4th of September, the day that many school children went back to school.
That's correct.
Do you think these men were locals? One of them didn't know the way to the sewage works, so he presumably wasn't.
No, Tankerton's a fairly quiet seaside town, and I would think they're certainly out of town, if not out of the county.
Let's have one more look then, finally, at those 3 men. There is a substantial reward, isn't there, if anybody can recognise these men?
Yes, Securicorps have offered a reward of £25,000 for a successful conviction and the recovery of the money. I think perhaps it's worth mentioning that the size of that reward reflects the seriousness of the offence. These are obviously dangerous men, and we need to catch them before they shoot somebody else.
All right, Mr. Taylor, thank you. If you do recognise any of those 3 men, either individually or, as Mr. Taylor said, you may know them as a group, please do ring. If you think you can help, here's the number here in the studio, 081 811 8181. Or you can phone Mr. Taylor's colleagues direct at Kent Police Headquarters on 0622 690909. That's 0622, the code for Maidstone, 690909.
Tonight's first reconstruction is of a crime that had so many witnesses you might think it's a wonder the police need any more. It's an armed raid on a security van near Oxford. A robbery that had to be abandoned because so many drivers and people from a nearby builders merchants decided to intervene. Now, we've changed some minor details for security reasons, and we filmed when it was snowing, which it wasn't when the robbery took place. The day is exactly 1 week before Christmas, Tuesday, the 18th of December, and it's 2:30 outside the Unipart factory in Garsington Road in Cowley.
That guy over there, Mick, looks so he's having a pee.
Very clever if he is, no hands.
Notice the light-coloured car at the front, though it might not have been a Volvo.
Nick, quick, somebody's just been shot.
Oh my God! Keep back! Back off, all right? Keep back, you'll get hurt! Now back off! Come on, let's get it! Come on, eat him all summer! What's the gun? On there,
The driver of this pursuing car is an ex-police officer.
John's Brian. John Armblag, Unipark, Garsington Road. I'm in pursuit of a Vauxhall, dark blue. G818 VPD. 2 targets. One of them armed. Handgun, pistol. I repeat, a dark blue Vauxhall. I think they may be a London team because of the handgun situation. One of the guards either seriously or fatally shot. They're going hell of a whack. 80, 90 through Garsington. I'm going to have difficulty at the top here, I think. John, I've lost them. They've obviously not come up onto this road. I'm turning back. Without a doubt, they've gone straight across the crossroads towards Berrinsfield.
At 20 to 3, Linda Madel was driving up Toote-Baldon Road.
Immediately I saw him, I thought, there's something very suspicious going on. And he was sort of in a panicky state. He looked very pale. And I just thought he was up to no good.
There was another witness with his dog in an adjoining field. A little later, further down the lane, a cyclist saw a jogger. And just after 3 o'clock, the police got to the lay-by where the robbers had been parked. They could hardly miss the evidence.
Helmet and cash bags.
Brother Alpha 9-1.
Piece of number plate up in the
9-1, go ahead. Yeah, can you arrange a scene to crime mobile for me, please? A Toote-Baldon Road. Near side, we found some number plate helmets and that in a ditch. Proceed to it.
Yes, 9-1 on the scene. Brother Alpha out. Have a look in the field just to make sure.
And at about the same time, 2 miles further up the main road that runs through Newnham Courtney, a quality inspector road testing a new car had stopped to check the vehicle. We have a replica of that gun here. Dave Buckingham, first of all, what about the security guard who was apparently shot? What sort of condition is he in?
He's fine, Nick. Had a bruised and swollen cheek, but he was lucky that a blank was fired, otherwise he could have been very seriously injured or even killed.
Now, in fact, the gun that was used that fired blanks isn't a real one, it's a replica, a very popular make of replica.
It's a Brunei 8mm, made in Italy, and it's a replica Beretta. We would like to hear from anybody who may have had one stolen or knows of anybody who purchased one recently and is now no longer in possession of it since the 18th of December.
Now, the blanks that were in this may hold the key, because before the robbery, the night before in fact, at 6:15, a man walked into the Dunmore Shooting Centre on the Wooden Road in Abingdon, which is about 5 miles from Cowley.
I'm sorry, sir, we're closed.
You don't have to sell me anything.
Look, do you have any of these?
Yes, 8mm blanks. I sell them, but not this particular type. Do you want gun it's for?
No, I don't. But it's a good one.
Let's have a look at the magazine. No, I can't tell, I'm afraid. If I say the wrong blanks, you could hurt yourself or the gun.
Well, it's only in the car. I can go and get it if you like.
Well, I'm closed now, but open at 9 in the morning. If you bring it back then, I'll see what I can do.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Now, you think this man just might be the man in the robbery who drove the getaway car?
He's very similar to the video fit produced by the witness at Toot Baldon who saw the man next to the blue Vauxhall. At Abingdon, he was wearing a light beige shirt and dark trousers. At Toot Baldon by the Vauxhall, he was wearing a denim jacket and dark trousers.
He's a pretty big guy, about 6 foot tall, and so is the second man, the gunman. The gunman, also about 6 foot, wears size 11 shoes, you know that, and sort of receding dark hair. What about the woman in the car, in that light-coloured car that drove in front? Ostensibly, she was turning round in the road. Of course, she could have been there simply to set up the robbery.
Yes. We would like her to come forward if she is an innocent party just turning around in the road, or we would like to hear from somebody who knows a woman driving a similar car who is an associate of the two offenders.
Now, the clothing that was dumped was quite distinctive. We've got a picture of the blue tracksuit, which has a star emblem with an 8 on it, as you can see, and the trousers say O'Neill. And found with the clothes was this receipt. Tell us about it.
Yes, the receipt is from Roach's stores in Cork, Southern Ireland. The amounts on the receipt are actually amounts for the tracksuit top and bottom. And we would like to know of anybody who's been across to Ireland, maybe on holiday, or just visited and purchased such items recently. They were purchased about 6 days before the robbery on the 12th of December.
So there may well be an Irish connection somehow to this. The dark blue Vauxhall Cavalier that the robbers used to escape in has never been found, has it?
No, it has a broken rear passenger window. We would like to hear from anybody who knows such a vehicle. They may have had it stolen, maybe a hire vehicle, or it could be the offender's own vehicle.
Or maybe you repaired that sort of damaged vehicle. This is the plate that was made up, or one of them. If you made up that plate too, do please let us know, G818VPD. Indeed, if you can help us in any way, do please call. There's the number, 081 811 8181. 081 811 8181. The detectives are waiting now, or indeed you can speak to a BBC researcher if you prefer. Alternatively, you can call Cowley Police Station. That's 0865 266 331. 0865, the code for Oxford, 266 331.